All right, jumping into a setting that might be a refresher for some, and that's how to make sure that you're able to accurately see your FPS counter. So you're gonna go ahead and go into your menu, go over to settings, it's under interface, and then you're gonna go down to telemetry. There it is. You're gonna go custom. I have the same three. These are my favorite to always have. It's the FPS counter, server latency, and then of course packet loss. And then if you did that right, it should look like this up here. All right, now let's jump into the in-game settings. We're gonna go to graphics. We're gonna start on the first page off the bat. The display mode should be full screen exclusive. Whatever display monitor you have, make sure that your graphics card is selected. Typically that's auto. Your screen refresh rate should match whatever your monitor is. So for example, mine is 240. The display resolution, I play on 1440p, but yours might say something like 1080 automatic. And then if you ever did have any issues with your game not loading properly, something that I've done in the past is I'll restart my shaders, but you do have to close out the game and restart it, okay? Display gamma should be 2.2. Your brightness, currently I have it at 50. A lot of the times that should be more than enough, and I'll turn the brightness from the monitor on versus from the game. Make sure that eco mode isn't defaulted to efficiency or low consumption. Eco mode should be custom. VSync should be off for both gameplay and menu. And then of course the custom frame rate that I selected was 3 less. And don't ask me why 3 less. I went through a whole rabbit hole of Reddit threads, and 3 less from whatever your monitor is. So for example, mine was 240, so the custom frame rate is 237. Now it should be 3 less than whatever your monitor is. Again, the rabbit holes on Reddit are there. If you guys want to go check them out, I suggest you guys go do it on your own time. There's a lot of information about what actually goes on the back end to help with that, but basically 237 is where I've had it. I have never had any problems. Conversely, you can also go unlimited and you won't have to worry about any kind of hitching on that end. The only thing is that if your AMD cards run a little hot, and by a little it sometimes will overheat, especially if you didn't underclock your GPU. So if that's the case, I strongly suggest that you do custom frame rate. For focus mode, I did 0. I have high dynamic range off. All right, let's move on to quality. So the graphic preset will change by itself as you start to mess around with some of the settings, so don't worry about changing that. The render resolution should always be 100. Dynamic resolution is going to be off. Now your upscaling should be fidelity CAS, and right here when you go in, you can do 50. Currently I'm running it at 50. I feel like the game as it is has been very sharp, but I'll play around with it depending on that day, and I'll sometimes crank it up all the way up to 100. This is a personal preference. Currently I believe 50 is the default, and that's what I've been running. So again, personal preference. Now the VRAM scale, I have it at 90 currently. Variable rate shading, I have this off. Texture resolution, I have this as very low. Texture, filter, anisotropic at normal. Depth of field, I have this off. This is just going to make sure that you don't get that blurring effect when you ADS on your gun. The detailed quality level is going to be low. Particle resolution is going to be very low. Bullet impacts is going to be off. Resistant effects are going to be off. Shader quality low. On-demand texture streaming, make sure that this is off. This is the one that tends to default to on, and this will cause hitching during the game more often than not. Your local texture streaming quality can be low or normal. This one, again, this is a personal preference. Right now we're playing multiplayer, and I don't think that you need anything more than this. The game will still look fantastic. Once Warzone comes out, we will revisit these settings, and if anything needs to be adjusted, you guys will be the first to know. So if you guys are liking the video so far, please like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notification settings so that you guys will see the video when it comes out. Shadow quality should be low. Green space shadow should be off. Ambient occlusion should be off. Green space reflection should be normal. Static reflection quality should be low. Environment tessellation should be near. Terrain memory should be max. This one's important. Volumetric quality low. Deferred physics quality off. Weather grid volumes, you don't need it, trust me, off. And then water quality, wave wetness, and that's it for quality. Now this is going to be personal preference for the field of view. Currently I'm playing on 115. Now this is different than what I was using in Modern Warfare 2. In Modern Warfare 2 I had been playing on 117. I can't tell you why it feels different, but 117 was too zoomed out for me here. And again, this just might be my eyes playing tricks on me. That's personal preference, but anywhere between 103 to 115 I think is a good sweet spot. ADS field of view should be effective. Weapon field of view should be wide, and then third person field of view should be 90. Vehicle field of view, I have it at default. World motion blur, this should be off, and so should weapon motion blur. These two I know for a fact they're usually defaulted to on, and it makes a huge difference. Film grain, make sure that's 0. First person camera movement, least 50%. Third person camera movement, least 50%. Third person ADS transition, this is the third person ADS. Spectator camera should be helmet camera. Inverted flashbang, I have this as off. As an added bonus for those of you guys that want your game colors to look a little bit more vibrant or a little bit more clear, go down to interface, and under color customization you can choose a custom palette. As you can see, mine is different. I am gold, my team is green, those are typically default, and then my party however is purple. Again, these are all personal preference. The filter that I think would help everybody to help with the color vibrancy as well as just making things a little bit more clear is changing this color filter here on interface to filter 2, and then make sure that it's world. Interface will only do it here for your menu. You want to make sure that you have it for the game. I don't necessarily need it in the menu, so I only have it applied to the game, and I have the intensity cranked all the way up to 100, and then the interface color intensity to 10. But again, we are only selecting world, so it doesn't really affect anything. You can move this down to 0 and it would do absolutely nothing. Okay, now before we get into the AMD settings, one of the things that's going to make the biggest impact is making sure that you use something like DDU to clear any of your previous driver files. This is just going to make sure that your computer runs at its most optimal performance. Now, the first thing that you're going to do before you start something like that, obviously, is download DDU. And we'll have a link to where you can get DDU downloaded from. So after you've downloaded DDU, you're going to go ahead and go over to find out what the latest driver for your graphics card is, and the easiest way to do that is AMD support. You're gonna go to the graphics portion of it. I have a 6900 series, and so we're gonna go there. There were 2 different options. You're gonna submit, and then you're gonna select your operating system. So I do Windows 10. The most current driver out right now as of recording this video is the 23.11.1. Now when you download this, I suggest that you download it into the same folder that DDU came from. And this is what I mean by that. So I put that folder in my desktop so that it's easy for me to find, such as this. Now I have a couple of old drivers in there. I wouldn't suggest that you keep all of the old ones because that defeats the purpose. I kept some of the ones that we were testing as we were optimizing. So as I'm testing, I'll keep them in here because DDU process is not lengthy, but it does require some back and forth. And this is just the easiest way for me to organize them. You should probably only keep 1, potentially 2, so that you can revert back to a previous driver version if you need it, but no more than 2. Okay, so now that you have the driver downloaded, you have DDU open, you're gonna go ahead and do a couple of things. You're gonna go ahead and disable whatever you use to get on the internet. So for me, I use Ethernet. If you guys use a Wi-Fi, you're going to disable that, and then we're going to go ahead and go through these steps. This is going to ensure that Windows doesn't try to download its own graphic driver for you, and that way you have full control of what is going to be selected for your graphic. You're gonna go ahead and come over the start button of your Windows. You're gonna hit that, go to power. You're gonna hold down the shift button. As you select restart, it'll take you to a window with these options, and this is gonna have a couple of options. The one that you're gonna want to select is that troubleshoot option. After that, it should give you something similar to this, and the one that you want to select is that startup settings. After that, these are the settings, and you see how it gives you a list of different things that you can do during the startup. It has the 1, 2, and 3. Fourth one is the one that we want. This enable safe mode is the one that we're interested in. Right here, you're gonna be able to select restart with your mouse, and you're gonna hold down the number 4 on your keyboard. This is gonna do a couple of things. You won't have to wait too long, especially if you guys have an SSD, and it's gonna open up your window in safe mode. What this is gonna do is you'll have all of your normal files, but no background. This is where you're gonna open up DDU, this folder, and you're gonna open the exe or DDU. And what you're gonna want to do here is you're gonna select your GPU, and you're gonna do a clean and restart. It's gonna take a couple of minutes, and it'll just restart. When you log back into your PC, you're gonna go back into this folder, and you're gonna select that driver, and you're gonna double click that, and it's gonna run its process. It's gonna give you an option of full install, limited install, or driver only only, make sure you select full install. Now we're going to go through some Windows settings, and this is just going to be a quick one. You're going to go to Windows graphics settings. You're going to open that, and you're going to make sure that Call of Duty HQ is under high performance. During the AMD driver update, it'll ask you if you want to restart. Make sure you do so, and after it restarts, go ahead and open your AMD software. It should look like this, and it'll tell you that you are on the current version. Don't forget to enable your Ethernet cable so that you have access to the internet. Now you're going to go over to gaming. Now you shouldn't have to add a profile, but in the event that you do, it's very easy. These three little dots, you go ahead and add a game if you don't see Call of Duty readily available for you to select. Obviously, I already have it. I'm going to go in here, and these are the settings that I've selected. So I have Radeon Super Resolution disabled. I have Radeon Anti-Lag disabled, Radeon Chill disabled, Radeon Image Sharpening. And remember, in the game, we already have started sharpening, so you want to disable this. You don't want to have both of them. They conflict with each other. Now the Radeon Enhanced Sync, I have this disabled as well. Wait for vertical refresh off unless the application specifies, which in game we have selected not to use that. The anti-aliasing, make sure that this is use application settings. It defaults to something else. Anti-aliasing method, multi-sampling, and then here we have this disabled as well. Anisotropic filtering disabled. Texture filter quality standard. Surface format optimization disabled. Tessellation mode, you want to use the application settings. OpenGL triple buffering, we have that disabled. Now here on the AMD FreeSync, I have this off. The scaling mode, I still have this as global. Integer scaling, I have that as global, and these are the default settings. This is going to be whatever they AMD had already selected for that. Launch with AMD Infinity disabled. Custom color off. Display color enhancement, global settings, and it's off. Color deficiency correction, use global setting, and I have that off currently. These are the settings that I currently use. This performance grade is going to show you your average FPS, but for those of you guys that selected custom, remember that it takes the average of when you're in the menu as well, not just when you're in the game. So the menu, we have it capped to 60, and off screen we have it capped to 30. So those two things obviously influence that average, but so far those things haven't been an option. Just something to consider. It's not as accurate to what you're getting true game FPS. Now, an added bonus here, if you haven't seen my previous video, I give you guys some advice on how to overclock and undervolt your GPU. And so basically I did change some settings. This is what has been working for me. Now remember, every single graphics card is different. You are gonna have to run some tests. AMD has this integrated feature where you can stress test it here. You can specify the duration. I'll usually run it for 5-10 minutes if I changed anything in here. If messing with the settings is not something that you're comfortable with, the one thing that I will highly advise you to do is to make sure that you set an aggressive fan curve for your GPU, just to make sure that it maintains really good temperatures. This is mine. It's pretty basic, nothing crazy, but it's always running at least 50, but this is only while I have the game open, so it's not always. Now, one thing that's going to be the same is whatever your max frequency is. During game, you want to just make that 100 less. This number is not going to be the same for you, but your max frequency should be 100 more than your min while in game. You see here how this is only a game profile. Again, if you're seeing this as a global, make sure that you go back into gaming, you select the game, and then from here you go into tune game performance. This is going to make sure that these settings that you're changing are only when you're playing Call of Duty or when you're playing your specific game, because if not, your GPU is going to be running at these insane speeds always, which is not good for anything. So here I have mine undervolted to 1090. Again, this was through stress testing what was the most stable to still get as much power out of my GPU. My power consumption is volted up 15%. And again, this is what I've been running. This is with ASRock OC 6900X. This is more or less what the game should look like. We've been actually averaging anywhere from 250. Even though we cap our max frame frame rate to 237. As you can see in the FPS counter, it ranges all the way up to 280. Sometimes it depends on what part of the map we're looking at. Obviously, that means that my GPU, and we're prepping. This is all before Warzone. We're trying to make sure that we fully optimize this for you guys. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Drop in the Discord. We have a plethora of people that can help out, just answer some of the things that you're looking at. And of course, if you liked the video, like, comment, subscribe, turn on the notifications, and I'll catch you guys out there. Peace, love, positivity.